Right, we'll do our best here. So, so is he an American patriot? Did he reignite interest in the leadership of the president of the United States, or is he a genocidal maniac?
It's a good question. You should turn it the other way and wonder that about that guy too.
All right, but you can't say that. You can't be on this asking that as a problem solver, right? Can you?
I mean, I certainly can. I mean, everybody is allowed to be critical of other people. It's just a matter of wanting to be able to be in the space to try to do that problem solving and find a solution, even with people who generally disagree with you. I mean, we had Democrats met with Mike Pence this week in order to talk about the coronavirus, and we don't need to have a issue that's as, disastrous as the coronavirus in order to all come together to find solutions.
Yeah, no, I've heard that Vice President Pence is also president of the Senate, right? Is reaching out across lines to make good things happen. Anyway, besides all that, what else? What are we?
I don't know. Do you want to?
What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk
about getting vitriol out of the conversation.
What about
and
vitriol?
Demonization of the other side, which just honestly makes it so that it doesn't matter what they say. You already are imagining them to be somebody who's disagreeable, who disagrees with you and at some level your core principles. And unfortunately, like a lot of these issues are a lot more complicated than that. You can't presume that, just because they support Donald Trump or are a Republican, that automatically they are against everything you stand for.
Right.
There's nuance to these issues.
I concur. I mean, I deal with people who would consider them some Trump supporters in my daily job, and I would break it down to like 7 to 8 types of Trump supporters, and there is nuance. There's like some people who do it because he's a Republican. There's some people who do it because he's a conservative, and there's this culture war that they believe in. And then there's some people who do it because he's a bona fide celebrity. There's all these different things, and to say that it's one thing or the other, and that person is a bad person simply because they support one person as president seems kind of dumb to me.
I agree, but I mean the way the politics is the conversation, the vernacular is like, oh, well, if you can't just disagree on when a baby comes to term, right? You're either a baby killer or, you hate women. It's not, it's a much more nuanced conversation. That's just one example, and unfortunately, sometimes it's really hard to find that area where you can really talk to each other about what the underlying crux issue is. And I certainly see some of that in our community as well, where people end up talking past each other because they hear this one thing and they automatically start demonizing a person because of something they heard, but usually the issue and the context around it is much more nuanced than that.
Well, that's interesting. And then I'm curious, because a lot of that comes from two different places that I see. One is online, and the other is like people talking to each other in close quarters. And I think that when our community started, when the Burning Man community started, there really was less of of this online stuff. It existed, but it was a much more sort of new thing. And now it's kind of blossomed, and communication has changed. I think a lot of things have changed about the way we interact, we think, and the way we communicate. Is that your perception as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love Facebook. I'm on it all the fucking time. And it's a great way to find out about what's going on. And honestly, I took a break from it in January. It was really hard. But I think, a lot of people are also using it in order to be able to, speak their truth and call people out for things that they see. And I see that interest in using it as a last resort to hold people accountable. But unfortunately, there's no way in which we have resolution that comes out of that. It might feel cathartic for the person doing the calling out.
But there has been, like, with Harvey Weinstein. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
He got called out. There was accountability for him. No.
I think again it's a spectrum of when it comes to the issues, it's much more nuanced, right? Not every person who is creepy is a Harvey Weinstein
Right.
and needs to be held accountable as such.
Right.
And so, at what point when people are getting called out, are you trying to take that conversation and understand exactly what the repercussions should be and how we should hold people accountable? Because ostracization, is that how you say that word? Ostracization.
Ostracization.
Is that not how things, heal? That's not
Right.
how we're able to work through things and get to a place where, and the goal is for, I don't know, restorative justice and people to feel comfortable in their community, but also make sure that the community is not fractured in that process.
Well, you say restorative justice, but not everyone's goal is restorative justice, I don't think. I think there are a lot of people who are like locked into this way of how we did it before, how society has evolved, the structures that exist, and they want punishment. They want to punish someone and they want to move them out, and they don't want restorative justice. And I think this idea of restorative justice is something of a new thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that could be very helpful to us as a community.
I just am thinking that people need to provide the space, if they're up for it, to be able to have that conversation. And that's the only way that those people who have violated your boundaries are able to learn that that wasn't okay. And obviously there's a certain amount of that if the person who was the violator of your boundaries is willing to come to the table and willing to hear you, that all of this is premised based off of that assumption, because there are people out there who do have not very good intentions or are
True.
not willing to listen and think that they're right. And in those situations, I think that certainly needs to be handled differently.
Well, this Harvey Weinstein thing, that's the thing about him, why I think the call out worked and why it was appropriate in that case,
situation.
Because he was so powerful and nothing else would work. And so you had to bring him down that way. But when you have a relationship with people, when you see them on a daily basis and when you can connect with them and they'll listen, then it's a totally different thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And when we're in a community where we're wanting to hold each other accountable and hold ourselves accountable, I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about this community, is that we're wanting to be the ideal community, right?